Mike taught me, I think he taught me to be a tougher person, you know, and
100%.
obviously I lacked a lot of, I didn't communicate, and sometimes I was just maybe too dedicated. I wouldn't want to go out for a drink. I still remember when I,
Hello, everybody who's watching. Welcome back to the High Performance Zone. This is the podcast where we talk about high performance and we talk to the greatest and the greatest names of the industry of horse racing. Today, we've got a great man, a legend, Mr. Anthony Delpech himself. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, and you, Tawanda?
All good, all good. I see you wearing my favorite team's jersey there.
Arsenal, you support the right team.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you been doing so far? I mean, like, we've been on lockdown. How has that period been for you?
Well, I'm lucky. We've been keeping busy with Hollywood, a couple of things doing, and with the horses, and going to Summerfeld and going to have a look at the horses, and obviously a couple of things, tipping a couple of Hong Kong racing, and just keeping busy with the team.
And how's the restaurant? I think you recently opened it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's more my wife's part. I go there just to support her more than anything. But it's a difficult times now, and doing a little bit of takeaway, and it's very, very difficult times for all restaurants, I'm sure, around South Africa.
Yeah.
And so we're waiting until you're open to start business again.
Well, when we are allowed to go to restaurants, I'm definitely going to be one of the first few people that are going to go there. And I'm just going to ask you about the directions and the address and everything else. But anyway, today I'm going to be just getting to know you, Mr. Delpech. Like I said, this is the podcast where I speak with high performers, and I'm really interested in high performance and getting to know your career in racing and how you just surpassed all your goals and your milestones, and you came to be one of the greatest jockeys. So just to start off, tell me about your background. How were you as a kid, and how was your childhood?
Well, I come from Seychelles, and I came to South Africa when I was 12 years old, and we came for education because the education was quite poor in Seychelles, and so my parents moved here for us to go to school here.
You went to Glenwood, right?
Yes, I only did standard 6 at Glenwood, and then went to the academy.
Okay, how was Glenwood? Like all the boys there are big and strong and rugby boys.
Yeah, well, I was the tiny one.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were growing up, were you competitive in any way? Were you a quiet kid? Were you what type of child were you?
I was a very good runner at school.
I
was always a very good runner at school. I did athletics more than anything, and cross country. Didn't really do any other sport.
Okay, so that's probably why you ended up becoming a great jockey, I guess, because you've always been interested in sports,
Yep.
And then when you got into the academy, how was that? Because I understand you did have a language barrier. You spoke French, and everybody else spoke English.
Yeah, obviously, I just come back from Seychelles. I had been back to South Africa, I think, 2 years. And obviously my English wasn't very good, but the academy was very tough those days. It was not as easy as it is now. But it made you tough, and it made me what I am today.
And Mr. Delpech, one thing that I usually see amongst mostly like great athletes, like if you look at the likes of Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters, their parents were very instrumental in their careers. The parents motivated them, inspired them, and made them work towards their goals and their sportsmanship. You know what I mean? How were your
Yeah.
parents when you were growing up in terms of supporting you and instilling a great winner's mindset in you?
Well, with my parents not really knowing much about racing, they were very green about racing and very more concerned about me going to the academy. Obviously, I had to spend 5 years away from them.
Uh-huh.
So it was, at the end of the day, they said it was my decision. But whatever, if I ever wanted to come back and call it the day, it's my decision. And yeah, when I started riding in races, and obviously my dad was more of a big supporter
Yeah.
than my mom. My mom was always a quieter one, and
Uh-huh.
but my dad was a passionate one with the horses. He used to come to track every morning when it was when we were on holidays. Always used to take me to work. So he was the passionate one. But unlucky, I lost him quite early when I started having my success in racing. So he was shot and he passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but it's great that he supported you. You know, support from parents is very important amongst everybody if you want to be successful, especially in sports. I think in sports, as an athlete, you need that support system from your parents more than anybody else. Okay, cool. So then, when you were at the academy, just tell me about your experience there. I know times have changed. I mean, back then, the environment was totally different. The people were totally different, and the culture of the academy was totally different. Do you see a difference in the crop that's coming out there now, and how you guys came out of it? You know what I mean? Like, is there a difference in the jockey?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. The whole academy, the whole system was totally different. We didn't have mechanical horse. We didn't have television to watch replays and things like that. It was a lot of us that the riding masters would come in the morning and give us a bit of a help, but we also had to do it ourselves. You know, you had to put in. You never had the chance to come back to academy to help someone to put you on one of those riding horse and improve your riding. So you had to improve your riding yourself in the races, and we didn't have to come back and watch TV and watch how bad you ride a race or tell you how to improve. So yeah, it was much different. Well, obviously today with technology and all these improvement to get a rider better with the mechanical horse, and you know, so things have changed.
Yeah, things have changed for the better, right?
Some way it's in a better, and then somewhere I don't believe in it. I thought I'm not too much about the mechanical horse. I'm more with the natural. I've got a horse, but it's not mechanical. It's not electrical. Mine is mechanical, and I think you get more out of it than the electrical. It gets a little bit too complicated.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what today is all about.
Yeah. So you think that the mechanical one is better because of the amount of work that you put into it?
Yeah, I think you don't get too technical about it and worry too much about the screen and how you're balancing and everything. There, it's natural. You get on and you actually burn more energy by pushing the mechanical horse yourself. And after going for 2 minutes, you'll be totally exhausted. As the one that's electrical, it's not at all.
Okay, I see. That's a really interesting point of view. Okay, so when you were in the academy, and how did you actually how did you get into like the racing aspect of your life? Because I don't think you were you came from a racing background, right? Was there somebody that noticed you and said you need to be a jockey?
It was more at school. The teachers always, because I was so tiny, and the teachers just said, "Geez, you should become a jockey." And I never had an idea what they were talking about. So I think it was when I was at home and I was starting to watch races on the television. I think it was one of the big races. Could have been the July, but I can't remember. And I said to my dad, I said, "Hey, everyone said I must become a jockey." And I actually, because the school was so difficult for me, I struggled, and I thought it was more going to be a sport than anything else.
Yeah.
So it was like more getting out of school, and I applied and I got in, and And I really didn't really know what it's all about. I didn't know this was going to be my life. I thought it was going to be a sport. So it just shows you.
And how was it when you won your first race?
Actually, my first race, I went in the second box. I thought I got beat. And then the numbers came up when I was back in the jockey room, and then I knew I won. So my first winner wasn't really the greatest thrill, but I beat Michael Roberts on my first winner, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have enjoyed it.
Yeah. And when you were growing up at that stage, who did you look up to?
I think Michael Roberts was my idol. I thought he was an absolute legend. I thought he was really, really great jockey. Felix Kutsi was really, really talented. Yeah, those were the two standouts at that time.
And if you don't mind me asking, I know I'm skipping a couple of stages here in a couple of years. Who do you look up to now? Do you still have people or figures that you look up to and find them to be inspirational?
Well, I think I look up to Mike de Kock a lot, because he was really my last 12 years in racing. I rode for him, and he was really I learned a lot from him about horses, and I learned a lot of him as a person too. So he's helped me a lot. He's guided me a lot in racing.
And when you were still growing up and getting better as a jockey, like, what was the one piece of advice that you got that changed your riding style and the way you thought and who you were? Like, one piece of advice that just changed your game completely.
Well, it wasn't really one piece of advice, but I've always believed in hard work, and you're not going to get there by hard work and dedication. And always, if someone says no, you keep going back, and one day they'll say yes, because that's what racing is. You all had to start from the bottom. Nobody started from the top.
Yes.
And, you have to work your way to the top. And to get there, you have to put a lot of work. And a lot of times you'll get said, no, sorry, you can't ride this horse. But you have to just keep persuading and going back and going back, having that determination and work hard on your riding and want to improve, want to get better, learn from other people that's around you.
And what quality do you think that you had that made you become one of the best jockeys in South Africa? What do you think when you look inside of you and you think back? What is it that you had inside of you that just made you a better jockey than the rest?
I think I've got determination. I always wanted to succeed, and I always wanted to be the number one day. I just didn't want to be just the jockey, just the one jockey. I wanted to be somebody, and it's in racing. It's sometimes you need a lot of luck, but luck's also hard work. Hard work gives you the luck too. But you got to be in the right place at the right time and get the right job and get on the right horses. And I was very lucky that I got onto the road for the right people and got onto the right horses, and it got me on my way. But obviously, to have those opportunities, you also have to have a bit of the talent to keep you there.
100%. But I have to disagree with you there, Mr. Delpech, that I don't believe in luck. I think luck doesn't exist, because you make the things that happened in your life or in your career happened through purposefully doing them. You know what I mean? Like you just said, you worked hard. So through your hard work you got what came out of it. You know what I mean? You got the rides, you got the best horses, you met the correct people. So I think it was hard work more than luck. I really hate the word luck, to be honest,
Yeah. Although us in jockeys in racing, we always use the word luck. You need a lot of luck. And you do make your own luck. You do make your own luck as a sportsman. You make your own luck. But I've always believed that you need that little break in life, but if you've got to take it. Once you get that break, you've got to take it and run away with it. And I got that break in life, and I made full opportunity of it.
100%. And when you're at the top of your game, okay, I'll ask this later. I'm getting excited now. So tell me, what was the highlight of your career? Now we're going to skip a couple of years to where now you started riding the July Hong Kong. the apex of your career, you know, when you started becoming the greatest name in horse racing in South Africa and around the world. Tell me about that stage of your life, the exciting part. How was that experience?
Well, I think when obviously one of the greatest highlights of my career was probably when I broke the South African record that Pierre Stradom set the year before I broke it. And to have 334 winners, I think that was one of my highlights of my career. And obviously, the greatest wins, the July has always been the greatest wins. It's the greatest race everybody looks forward to. And I'm being lucky enough to have won it 4 times. And obviously in Hong Kong, winning the Hong Kong Cup, the QE2, the Derby, which was my first Group 1 race in Hong Kong. And the Derby in Hong Kong is the ultimate race to win.
Yes.
So overseas, that was one of my biggest. And obviously in Dubai on World Cup night, winning the QE2. No, sorry, not the QE2. Geez, I've lost my plot now. Yeah, winning... Jeez, I can't believe it. I've gone totally blank. Yeah, winning on World Cup night on Vengeance of Rain, that was also one of the highlights of my career.
And tell me about the story of how you actually got the ride of Vengeance of Rain.
Well, I went to, I was at work with David Ferraris and we were sitting at the top and the horse had won 13 pounds and Glenn Schofield was going to ride him, and David said, Glenn, are you going to ride him 113? He says, no, I can't make the weight. I'll ride him 2 pounds over. And I was standing right there and he says, Anthony, can you ride 113? So I said, yeah. And that's how I rode Vengeance of the Rain and never looked back.
Nice. I mean, like that horse, when I watched some of your previous races on Vengeance of Rain, it's that horse just flies, you know. It's like it's floating. It's just like, you know.
Yeah, those kind of horses, it's once in a lifetime that you get to ride them. And I was lucky enough to be there to get onto him. And I don't think I will never get an opportunity of riding a horse like that again. But those horses come only once in a lifetime, and I was very lucky and to have sat on him and won 7 Group 1s on him, and very grateful.
Yeah. And how was the when you were in Hong Kong? How was the atmosphere, the racing culture there? You know, because I know it's definitely different. How was it there?
Well, a jockey is so well looked up to in Hong Kong, and obviously the atmosphere there is incredible. I mean, every race meeting is almost like the July. Mm-hmm. It's packed with people, and the competition is much tougher than here. The level is much higher.
Yes,
I think expectation is much higher. So you have to be at the top of your game every day. Every time you walk into a jockey room, and the error of mistakes is very little. You can't afford to make mistakes, because you make mistakes, you've lost the race. So it is very, very tough, and it changes you. It makes you become more dedicated, more hardworking, and more. You've got to because the competition is so much tougher. You have to raise your game, and
100%.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And how did you maintain your game and your focus? You know, because as an athlete, you need to keep a mindset of winning. You know, your mind needs to be focused on your physical health and your mental health, and everything else just needs to be at the top of its. You know, you need to be in the zone. How did you keep your game at that level?
Well, in racing, the one thing that keeps you at the top is you when you're winning. And Hong Kong is also, there's a lot of superstition. People, if you're not doing well, you don't get opportunity to get on the good horses. And that place can actually break you, because I mean, as you saw for Lyle, he went there and he's a great rider and struggled to get winners. And that's what that place is like. You can have as much ability as you've got. If you don't get that opportunity, you're not going to ride the winners. And that's what Hong Kong is all about. You can go there and have one season and go very quiet, and the next season you'll go there and top of the world, because all of a sudden you've got 1 or 2 opportunities and you break through and you're A and away.
Yeah. And the trainers there, I think trust as well is a big thing, because I heard you saying that there's no stable jockeys there. And when a jockey sticks with one trainer, the other trainers don't trust you. Is that correct?
Yeah, Hong Kong is very very different. Yeah, it's and the owners really make the decision about the jockeys riding horses more than the trainers. If an owner wants a jockey on, and the trainer doesn't, the horse will move.
Yes.
So the owners call the shot more than anything else. And yeah, if you spend too much time riding for one trainer, that other trainers that want to put you on, and they believe that you're more on his side. It's very superstitious. The Chinese are very, very superstitious, and it's a very hard place to break in.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure the energy and the atmosphere in the jockey room as well must be very high in terms of competition. You know, because I noticed there's a lot of camaraderie here in South Africa. The jockeys joke around, they play a lot, and have fun. And I think it's the same. I've never been in a jockey room with the jockeys, but I'm just guessing that even in the jockey room before races, the guys have fun in there and play around. And in Hong Kong, is that the same? Is it the same as here in South Africa with the jockeys, or
No,
are they just competitive with one another?
no, it's totally different. And here the guys will be laughing and joking. In Hong Kong, there's no laughing and joking. And after a race, if something has gone wrong, someone's cause interference, you wouldn't be going to him and shouting and swearing, because you'll get a fine. You can't do it in Hong Kong. It's
Mm-hmm.
really really strict. And I think the jockeys also respect each other much more there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's much quieter jockey room than a jockey room in South Africa.
Everybody, it's dog eat dog.
Dog eat dog, and that's one thing you got to learn in the game.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So tell me, Mr. Delpech, how did you like stay at the top of your game? Is there because you obviously had to keep your mindset at a certain level. What did you practice? What did you practice? Maybe like, is there something that you did to keep your mind focused? Have did you pray? Was it meditation, or was it just working out? You know, was it reading books? What was your source of inspiration that just made you work harder and stay at the top of your game? You know what I mean?
Well, for you to keep on staying at the top of the game, you obviously got to make less mistakes. You can't afford to make mistakes in racing. That's the most important thing. Is you get the opportunity, you get the horses, then you can't afford to make the mistakes, because if you make the mistakes, you're going to lose out. There's so many ways of us jockeys keeping our mind focused, and everyone's got their own little way of doing their things. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't really like to talk about what I used to do, but yeah, we all got our little way of focusing before the races and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, it's for a jockey to keep at the top of his game, is he's just got to make sure that every time he gets on that horse, he is at 100% focused and want to win. And
Yes.
it's just mistakes. Once you make too many mistakes, people can see it. So the least amount of mistakes, we're all going to make mistakes, but the least amount of mistakes you make, you're going to become a better rider.
100%. I agree with you. I agree with you. You need to just keep on working on your craft and try to master it and get better at it every day. It's all about hard work, you know. Just like I said earlier on, I don't believe in luck. I just believe in hard work. Sometimes I even think that even talent, they say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. You know what I mean? If you keep on working on your craft. Yeah, I'm listening.
Well, I think in some jockeys, I'll say there's some jockeys are just gifted. They've just got the natural talent. I mean, Michael Roberts was naturally talented. He was gifted. And I was never gifted. I had to work hard at it. And Piers Stradham, I think Piers gifted. I think Piers so talented. But a lot of us have to work hard to have that talent. And in any sport, you'll see Tiger Woods is just naturally talented. He's just gifted.
100%.
And some of other golfer has to work hard to be at their best. So I had to work hard to get where I am.
100%. And just tell me about your relationship with Piers Stradham. how was your relationship as athletes and as friends? Were you guys competitive amongst each other in the jockey room, and even Anton Marcus as well?
I think, well, Anton is more of I'm closer to Anton than was Pierre. Obviously, Pierre is very professional and very quiet in the jockey room, doesn't say too much,
Yeah.
Keeps a lot to himself, so he says a few words. And Anton is, but most the same way, but Anton and I have a better relationship because we had the academy for 5 years together, so we did the same. We did apprenticeship together, and we grew up together. We did some young boy stuff together. so yeah, so we were great friends, and we're still great friends. And through my injury and so many times that he's kept in touch, and I mean, he even came to my house. And Anton's a good friend, and I've got a lot of time for him.
Mm-hmm. And when since you guys were such good friends, when you were racing and competing, was there a very, very high level of competition amongst you guys? Were you just like wanting to beat each other in every race? How was it?
I think me and Anton, there was always a competition in the jockey room, and funny enough, when I stopped riding, he says, "You brought the best out of me." He says, "I missed that. I missed not having you there." And Anton also brought the best out of me because we were so competitive, and obviously we got the best rides, and we always trying to steal each other's ride, getting the best rides between the two of us. So it was very, very competitive between the two of us.
Ah, man, I love that. I love that. And you know what they say? They say that when you need to hang out with people that are at the level of success of where you want to be. If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth one. If you hang out with 5 high performers, you're going to be the sixth high performer. So I guess you and Anton kind of had you just were a perfect match in terms of athletes and friends, because it just made you guys work harder and be better. You know what I mean? You got out the best of
of each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we always 100%. It's just, I mean, if you looked in the last most probably 8 years in Natal, it was who finished in top was me and Anton, and every year we were fighting to beat each other. I think we were more worried about beating each other in Natal because that's our province than the national log. I think we weren't really worried about that. We were worried about who finishes first in Natal, and it's great because it's when you go to races and I think we both looked up to each other, and we look forward to that challenge every time you get to the jockey room. You get to the races up. I get on the board first. I'm sure he wants to get on the board second. That's those, but that always brings the best out of you.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think made you guys such good athletes and such good jockeys? Because you definitely were different from the rest. I know it is hard work and everything else, but there must be something else. Maybe a way of thinking, a mindset that just made you different.
Well, I think it's racing's got to be everything. I mean, I'll just go and say just for Anton himself, he's so dedicated. His job is everything. I mean, he puts his everything in it, and he can be on Christmas Day. He'll be at work in the morning if he has to be there. You have to put that extra time and that extra passion into want to be the best. And he studies so hard, and he always wants to be the best. He's not right. Okay, I'm leading the log, and he wants to get out there and get the better horses. And I think he's also got that killer instinct. You've got to have that in you too.
Yeah. Is there, what did you learn from him? Because obviously as friends, you guys teach each other stuff, and you draw inspiration from each other. Is there some things that you learned from him that you think made you a better jockey?
Yeah, you always had to keep you always had to keep one step ahead of Anton, because Anton is very, very sharp. Right?
Yeah.
He's razor. We all got our own little ways, and I think I knew his little ways of it, and maybe he knew my ways of it. Yeah. And he played a very close cards, and he doesn't give too much away. And yeah, so yeah, those are all good times. I really enjoyed those challenges, and yeah, of course, I learned a lot from him. And obviously, his way of riding is Anton is very competitive. So doesn't give any edge away. Doesn't give any margin away. So yeah, you listen. You've got to, in racing. If you don't follow the guys that are winning races and seeing what they're doing, that they're doing right, then you're obviously not going to get better. So you've got to follow the people that are having winners for you to improve.
100%. Tell me, are you willing to give out maybe just one little thing that maybe like his ways that you noticed, and that would make you wanna. Obviously, you see his weaknesses, and you're like, I'm gonna beat him because of that. You know, are you willing to give out anything, just a small thing? You don't wanna now put him on the spot now, or?
Nah, I think maybe one day when I teach a young kid coming through, and I might teach him. No, listen. Those are the things that you'll keep it with you, and I don't need to share those cards.
100%, no problem. So I think that Mike de Kock is also a very high performer. You know, it's evident he's won great achievements in his career. And also David Ferraris as well. I think those are just incredible people, and they are at the peak of their game and their careers. So tell me about your relationship with Mike de Kock, and how was he as a high performer? You know, he's definitely a great idol in racing. And tell me, how was he as a high performer?
He was a tough boss, very hard, a tough boss, and he only expects the best. And if you rode a bad race, you would know you rode a bad race. So he taught you to make less. You had to make less mistakes, or else you'd be sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And he only expected the best, because he spends the whole morning at work, as he always says. He says, I put all my hard work, and then you get on the horse and you can just mess it up. You know what I mean? So I have to be hard on you. So listen, he's very tough boss, and I really cherished working for him, and he's still a friend today, and his whole family. And great trainer, learned a lot what he done with horses, and very gifted, very talented.
Are you willing to share anything that he taught you that changed your career?
Now, he taught me to dog eat dog. No, he taught me never to you never feel, because in the game you sometimes you feel sorry for another. You can never feel that in racing, because they'll step over you.
Yes.
So you always had to be tough. And you always have to be tough. Don't be weak. If you be weak, the people will stand on top of you. And Mike was never a weak man. He was a tough man, and it's hard. Obviously, we had our fights, but that's part of racing. And I was very grateful and lucky. I rode so many good horses.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that he's such a man that expects nothing but the best out of you as the jockey. And you can see that with him winning so many great races. And when I speak with him as well, you know, he's straight to the point. He doesn't mess around. He just tells you what you've asked him. And I think that there's a trend, you know, because even when I spoke with Justin Snaith as well, he said that he expects nothing but the best from his team and the people that work with him, the jockeys and everything. That's why he wins great races. And do you think that the trainers and even the jockeys, right, that don't compromise on excellence and just be very, because some people might take it harshly that you just too focused on being the best, and you're unfriendly, you're a bad person, you're rude, and this and that. I think that's, you have to be like that if you want to be a high performer.
Yeah, well, I've been told that when I was, but I wasn't rude. It's just the matter, you get into that zone, and when you walk onto the race course, it was business, and obviously friends will be after races, and I used to just totally switch off. I wouldn't hear anyone, even though I was walking past on a horse. But that's part of if you want to have the success, you've got to be like that. And well, listen, Mike taught me. I think he taught me to be a tougher person, and obviously I lacked a lot of. I didn't communicate, and sometimes I was just maybe too dedicated. I wouldn't want to go out for a drink. I still remember when I first was riding for Mike in Johannesburg, and I would win a Group 1, and he said, "Come up for a drink." I said, "No, Mike, I've got to go to Durban. I'm riding tomorrow." Yeah. So he said, "You've got to start enjoying the moment, because you never get enjoying the moment." So he actually taught me a little bit to enjoy the moment when you win the Group 1s, because I was never that person.
Yeah, you're all about on to the next one. What's the next big achievement, the next goal? You're all about hard work and working. Nice.
So there is a bit of fun with work too.
and that's now with saying that, you need to have a balance of work-life balance. You know what I mean? You need to have a balance of work and life and enjoying moments and all of that stuff. Do you find it difficult doing that? Or like, did you find it that maybe sometimes, even when you're with your family at home, you're still in the zone and you're not focused on your relationships with your kids and your wife? Did it affect your life in any way like that?
Yeah, I'm sure my wife will tell you. I'm terrible. I was like, she'll always say I'm deaf, because I was permanently, most probably watching racing while I'm switched off. She'll call me like 100 times. It was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah. You become that person. You become that switch off person, and you become that person that almost like racing is just everything. And I'm sure my kids have told me so many times that they've called me 100 times and I never even heard them. My wife's the same. I think you get into that zone, and it's hard to get. Even now, I still have to go, "Hey, called you 10 times." Yeah, I think you grow up, and it stays with you,
And how did you get out of it? Because obviously, I'm sure you didn't like it. I'm sure it's one thing that you hated, because we all want to be there for our family. We want to enjoy those moments with our family. How did you get out of? How do you like learn the habit of being in the zone and in the moment with your family?
Well, I think what I always done is every year after the season, you have to just switch off. You have to go away, and you can't. It's like your kettle boiling. You have to one day just switch off.
Yes.
You can't just keep on the boil all the time, because it's a pressure cooker. One day it's going to blow. So yes. I just learned that you had to have a break, and you had to get away from it a little bit, and totally put racing out. You had to just shut it off in 2 weeks, and then you come back and start again. And I think that's the biggest problem we got in South Africa, as racing just from one season to the next season, there's no one day off. And as every other country where you ride, there's 2-3 months off racing, and everybody goes on a holiday, everybody freshens up, everybody looks forward to the new season. And in South Africa, there's none of that. And the season finishes, and the next day is a new season. So if you don't take that opportunity to take the time off, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yes, 100%. But then again, Anthony, I know that being a high performer and being the best at your craft, it comes with consequences to your family and your private life. But it has to be like that, it has to be like that. You need to work hard. You need to just you need not to be able to breathe if you're not racing. You get it? If you're a businessman, you need not to be able to breathe if you're not doing business. Otherwise, you're just going to be an average person. You're going to be an average sports athlete, or a football player, or just, if you want to be at the top of your game, you just have to be crazy and obsessed about it. That's what I think.
Well, that's what it is. You become like that. And if you want to be successful, you are obsessed. And what the worst part is, you do miss that whole life of your children growing up, because you're permanently on a plane traveling, or you're permanently concentrating in racing, so you do miss your kids growing up. And I miss my kids growing up, and because of racing. But I think that's all part of my success that I have today, and what I've given to them, So and I told them all that hard work was also not just for me; it was for them too,
Yes.
But I think at the end of the day, if you want to be successful, that's the person you have to be. The
100%.
racing has to be everything to you.
Yes, yes. And tell me, speaking about your kids, I know Damon is probably around my age as well, and he's also in the industry of horse racing. How are you maybe trying to mold him to be a very successful person in his field, in his decision of a career in his life? Are you trying to advise him and help him to be a successful person? Are the things that you're teaching him to be as successful as you? How are you doing?
All I say to him is, at the end of the day, whatever he does, and if he does love it, he must do to his best of his ability every single day.
Yeah.
You don't want to be half measure or quarter measure. If you're passionate in something, you put everything into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you'll have the success. If you've got to put everything, you want to, one day, whatever he does, if he's a trainer, farrier, whatever he's doing, at the moment he's working as a farrier. I said, you want to be heard as one of the best farrier, not just a farrier. You want to be heard as, geez, you want your horse to be fixed up, he's got to be doing it. So you got to put everything in it, and you want to make sure you be the best at that job.
100%. No, I like that. And are you the type of parent that wants their son to be exactly just like you in terms of success and the things that you've achieved, or are you just letting him be himself and find his own feet, and just letting him, if he's not going to work as hard as you, then it's fine? Or are you the type of guy who says, listen, you need to get up early in the morning, go to work, stop being lazy? What type of person are you?
I think he knows me. I'm passionate, and I'm that kind of a person that I wouldn't be wanting him as my kid not to be just cruise along. And he knows that. But at the end of the day, I'm not behind him every day telling him, Damon, do this, Damon, do that. I think he's got his head screwed on right. I think he has. He's watched a lot of me, and he's very proud of me, and I think he carries that on to him.
Ah, nice. Okay, so I'm interested in David Ferraris. Briefly, just tell me. He's also a trainer, if I'm not mistaken. Is he a trainer and owner? Sorry.
No, David is Luke's dad, Luke Ferraris, and he's a trainer. He's a trainer of Vengeance of Rain. Okay. When I was riding in Hong Kong, he was really more my boss. I rode for him there for about 4 years.
Yeah. The reason I was confused because I think he owned a horse that was running in Scottsville or Greyville the other day, and it was trained by Omond, the grandfather, owned by the father, and ridden by Luke. So that's why I just got it twisted whether he's an owner or a trainer. And tell me, what's the difference or similarities between him and Mike de Kock? Because these guys are big deals in racing. They trained some of the best horses in the world. Tell me about, maybe if you're comparing them together.
It's very hard to compare two trainers that was very successful. They've got, obviously David's a total different person, and obviously David is hard man to work for. Very hard man to work for.
Harder than Mike.
He's they're in different ways harder. Ways harder. He's a very tough cookie. He doesn't like to lose. Even not your mistake. so he's tough, and I think he's also, you see that he's exactly the same. He just wants to win all the time, and that's why he's had all the success. Those are the kind of people that becomes very good. They just want to win, and totally two different person, but I enjoyed and riding for him, and I had a lot of success in South Africa before he went over to Hong Kong. I rode a lot of winners for him.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to ask you some questions that I usually ask all of my guests regarding high performance. So I really, really like the idea of high performance. I regard myself as a high performer. You know what I mean? I think I work very, very hard, and I'm going to be a very successful businessman one day. And so that's why, like, I'm very interested in the idea of high performance. And I like to talk with other high performers like yourself. Like, I've just learned a lot from this conversation. And other people who I've spoken to in the past, Pierce Jadam, Justin Snaith, and the likes. So tell me, do you think anybody can be a high performer? Do you think that it's all in your mind? Do you think if you just work hard at it, it can happen? Or do you think some people just don't have it in them?
Well, I think some people don't have it. Not really don't have it, but they haven't got that fire, you know. You actually got to have that fire and that dedication, and that's whatever it is. It's got to be everything, you know. I mean, that's what I believe. It's if you're going to do something, you've got to put everything, or rather don't do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it properly, or don't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm that kind of a person. And then, you know, some people have got it, and some people, I don't think you'll be able to make them be that kind of a person. So 100%. I think it's got to be in you too. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And tell me, what are some of the, give me 3 non-negotiable behaviors that you and the people around you need to accept. Like 3 behaviors that you expect from yourself and from the people that are around you. You know, what are those 3 behaviors?
Well, as a jockey, the excuse of not making work in the morning, that's not acceptable.
Nice.
Because if you don't go to work, you're not going to get the horses at the races, and don't expect to get the horses. Mm-hmm. That lazy attitude of not getting out of bed, that doesn't work for me. And at the end of the day, you've got to have that passion. If you haven't got that passion in you, then you must give up. And dedication is the next. So in racing, those are the 3 things that you have to have. And you have to have that hunger. You have to have that hunger. If you get to the race course and you haven't got that hunger in you, how can you be successful? So you got to be hungry every time you go out there.
Exactly. You got to be hungry to the point where you're willing to eat the next jockey that's trying to take your throne. You know?
Well, you got to think ahead of him. I mean, if you want to be successful, you've got to do so much homework as a jockey and know where every horse is around you and know who's behind you, have eyes behind you, because you know your form so well.
Yes.
You know, and that's it. It's the hunger. That's the end of the day. It's the hunger. The hunger will make you do all those things. So if you don't have the hunger, you're not going to do all those things. You're just going to rock up at the races and ride the horse.
Yes. And I remember you spoke about decision making. I think you said that you think that one of the best things, or one of the things that make a jockey good is decision making. So tell me about that. What do you mean by that? Like, what type of decisions should you make in a race? What is that about?
Well, firstly, I think to be a great jockey is you have to know how fast you're going on a horse. I think that's a number one. If you don't know how fast you're going in a race, then you're not going to be the best jockey. You've got to know, with you in front, how fast you're going, and if you're at the back, is the pace too slow? That's the decision you've got to make now as a jockey. Oh, the pace is way too slow. I've got to make a move. And if you're in the wrong position with the pace, you've got to make that decision. So that's all about decision making. Decision making is about making it. If you know how fast the race is run, if you're happy where you are because of the speed of the race, then you know that's all decision. That's all about decision. If you know how fast you're going, and if you can know how fast you're going in a race, you will make the right decision.
Nice. I like that. And what advice would you give the 20-year-old Anthony Delpech? If you could go back in time right now as yourself and give yourself some advice and tell yourself something, what would you tell yourself that would maybe change your career for the better? Or
Well, I think the most important thing is when you're young and you're growing up and you have success, you've got a lot of people that hangs around you, not for you as a friend. They want to be around you because of your success. I think as a young kid, you must be very, very mindful of those people that hangs around you, that want not just to be your friend, but just because to have the success. You'll end up losing everything that you've got because of those people. That's one thing you've got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it also goes back to um, what I said earlier on about picking the people that you hang around with correctly. You know, if you want to be, like I said, if you want to be successful, hang around with successful people. If you if now when you start losing focus, then you're going to start attracting those people. I think, you know, those people who are leeches, who just want to suck the blood and the success out of you, and who are hanging around with you for the wrong reasons. That's what I think, you know. But I agree with you.
Well, I think it happens to all the sportsmen everywhere in the world. And when you're successful, you have all those people around you. But as a young kid, now as a young kid coming through, they should be very wary of those guys, because at the end of the day, all their money that they've worked so hard go down the drain, and they're not there just for that friendship. They're there for more than just that.
100%, 100%. So what do you think, or what is your golden rule, or what was your golden rule to being a high performer? So what was that one rule that you just had that made you stay at the top of your game, you know?
My one rule was like always to present myself when I was at the races at the best. You can never, I would never want to go to races and then I never felt at my best. I never could give my best. And so that was number one, because then you make yourself look bad.
Yeah.
So try not to make yourself look bad.
Do you mean in the sense of your appearance and the way you dressed, or the way you perform?
Well, I always said you've got to present yourself well for people to want to use you. But I was more about talking about your mind in writing. You know, if your mind is not right in writing, you don't write as well as you should be writing. And there is times that your mind is not right, but try and go to the race so that your mind is focused on the racing, on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're riding in races, it's all about your mind, your decision. So you've got to have that, and you've got to have that clear mind. So
100%.
try and go there with that clear mind every time you go to ride.
Ah, yeah, I like that. I like that. It's all about mentality. And also, you always used to look good when you used to come to the races. You always just looked really, really crisp and dapper. So tell me about that. Like, why did you always just look so good when you came to the races?
Well, I think earlier on when we started racing, the dress code has changed a lot to compare to the dress code now.
Yes.
We always used to dress with smart, never wore jeans, always wore smart pants, smart shoes, smart shirt. Now that everything has changed a lot, and the appearance of the guys going to races with jeans and tackies, and that's acceptable. But I always felt like I had to present myself well, because I believe that if you present yourself well, that's what people will look up to you, and you want to be presented well, and that's what you will get.
100%, 100%. You need to market yourself very well, and your brand. You need to impress those owners that you have an opportunity of riding their horses. You know, correct?
Well, yeah, it's very important, and the last thing you want to walk to races and don't look so good. People look at you. You're in the eyes of everybody, and when you're in the eyes of everybody, make sure that you present yourself well.
I like that. You know, funny enough, that's actually one thing that I also believe in at the moment. I've changed the way since I've started working at Gold Circle. The people that work here are probably gonna agree with me on this. I've completely flipped and transformed the way I dress. I think it also comes, in my case, it comes with maturing. But I try to always just look good, because first impressions matter, and people take you much more seriously when you dress good. You know, when you present yourself well, even when you speak, people listen and all of that stuff. So I agree with you there. So I have another question here for you. Tell me, if you were to have a dinner party and you could invite 4 people, dead or alive, anybody of any of your idols, who would you invite?
Wow. Well, one will definitely be Muhammad Ali.
Ah, nice.
Because he was always from young, and he was like my idol. Would always love to have her. And well, who else? Mary Slack. She was a great boss to me. She was absolutely superstar to me, and I really look up to her.
And how was that? Like, how was the experience of meeting her? Because she was an incredible woman. I mean, like, she did such great things for racing, for the industry. Just tell me about her.
Well, I was very lucky, firstly, to ride for her mom, Mrs. Oppenheimer. I was retained by them when I was riding for Mr. Dreyer when I just came out of my apprenticeship. So I was very lucky to have ridden for all the families. Yeah, they're incredible family, and they horses are also in their blood. So it's great people to work for, and I'm grateful to have been able to ride for all of them.
Nice. So who are the next two people that you're going to invite?
I'll invite you. No. Who else? It's very, very difficult. But I've always adore Muhammad Ali, and I always believe that the most talented sportsman I've ever seen in my life is Tiger Woods. So maybe it would also be Tiger Woods.
What about Frankie Dettori?
Frankie is a mate, so I can have a dinner with him anytime.
Yeah. I find him. He's also a very incredible person. He's also a very high performer. He's one of the best jockeys in the world at the moment. And you've met him. He's a mate of yours. How is he as a person?
He's a character. He's a total different person. He's a bubbly, he never stops talking, and he's a happy-go-lucky person. And yeah, he's an absolute gentleman, and he's a kind person, and yeah, he's very, very. Listen, I get on very well with Frankie. Gone to his home in England, and fantastic person. And yeah, you have a lot of drinks, lot of champagne.
Nice. He likes to enjoy life, and.
He does. Frankie definitely loves to enjoy life.
When last did you speak to him, if you don't mind me asking?
I think the last time I spoke to him is when I think he might have sent me a message, but when I was in England, I spent a little bit, when I went to ride in the Jockeys International there, I spent a little bit of time with him there. That's a couple of years ago. I haven't seen him since I've had my accident.
Okay, Mr. Delpech. So everybody knows now that you are the brand ambassador of Hollywood Bets. And would you just please explain to us your involvement with Hollywood Bets?
Well, firstly, in the beginning, we started as the brand ambassador. And obviously now I'm working with James and helping with the horses part in training. So I'm working with all the trainers that's got all our horses, and obviously talking to the trainers about the horses' well-being and trying to get better quality horses. Obviously, we're trying to make sure that our horses, when it goes to races, are doing their best and trying to improve our quality of horses.
And recently, you guys did a bursary handover to the SA Jockey Academy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Hollywood Bets is fantastic. I mean, they gave a bursary to, I think it was 2 apprentices at the academy. So listen, they do a lot of great things for racing, and even the horse care unit, they sponsor the horse care units. At the end of the day, Owen and his whole Hollywood team have got a lot of passion for racing, and they love to see racing go forward. And that's what they're striving to at the moment with racing. Going through a bit of difficult time, they're always positive and they always want to improve things.
100%. They're doing incredible things for racing, like their involvement and the things that they've made better in racing is like unmeasurable, And speaking about them being positive, I know that in their marketing, they try to use positive words only. They shy away from using negative words. That's how positive they are. It's just incredible. I really like that.
Yeah, well, their company speaks for itself. Look how successful they've been doing, and obviously by them being successful, they're obviously doing something right. And what I've learned in the little time that I've been there is they always work as a team. And if you want to be successful, you will be team, and the team, whoever's in the team, has got to put their finger up and want to improve and get better.
100%.
And that's what it's all about.
100%. And there's no such thing. Recently, I've just been thinking about this idea a lot. It's just been playing in my mind that there's no such thing as a stupid question, and there's no such thing as a bad idea.
That's exactly, you're right. Listen, if it is a bad idea, then you work to make it a good idea.
100%.
Am I right?
100%.
So in everything that you say what you feel, and you might get someone saying, no, it's wrong. And so you wouldn't know if it's wrong if you didn't say it.
Exactly. Nice. And a lot of times you see that people are actually afraid of speaking out and talking about what's going on in their minds and expressing themselves. And I think that's another reason why people don't become high performers, because they're worried about what people think of them. They're worried about what people are going to say. And if you're going to keep on being worried about what people are going to say about you, then you're not going to become a high performer. You're going to be stuck in your bubble of averageness.
Yeah. It's also sometimes in a horse racing game, you can't be too loud. It's as much as you want to say too much, you got to be careful what you say. So there's all different ways of looking at it.
100%. What do you mean by that, though?
You can't always say what you want to say because some people will be offended to it. So you got to be very careful what you do say, So especially in racing, so you don't want to say something to offend others, and they might take it the wrong way.
100%. I'll be honest with you. Here's my thoughts about that, Mr. Delpech. I honestly think that that we need to have less of that. I think people should start speaking about, should be more honest and should start speaking more in racing. That's my honest opinion, because I think that speaking out is being honest. It is a sport. You know what I mean? I know that jockeys have to be respectful to owners and trainers and need not to say bad things so that they can get rides, but then they need to be honest. You know what I mean? If in interviews, I honestly hear the same thing from each and every jockey in interviews. They say the same words in every interview. The guy's going to say the same thing, and it just becomes words. It's not substantial stuff or opinions or the truth sometimes. So I think imagine if a jockey just says, this is what happened, exactly what they were experiencing in the race and what they honestly think about the horse. If it's a bad thing, it's going to get people talking. It's going to get written in the paper. It's going to get it's like marketing and public relations. Look at what's happening with the UFC. UFC, you got press conferences. You got Conor McGregor just going crazy. The more honest I think we are, the better we're going to become. I think that's what I think.
Listen, at the end of the day, that's what racing needs. Is the owners are putting so much money into the game, and you look at today with the stakes is so poor, and you've got to go buy horses for so much money. So it is very important to be honest in racing, because the owners, the people that are putting the money in, it needs the honesty, needs to know what's going wrong and what do we need to make it go right. You know what I mean? And to keep it going, we have to have those kind of people in it, and it's very important.
Yeah, and you know what I think also should. I know this is not the video is not about that, but before we wrap up, I just want to say one thing. I ideally I would want like more focus on the jockeys. You see, like what I'm doing right now, speaking to you as the athlete and speaking with the trainers. I think a lot of people, the average person that gets into racing first sees the jockeys and the trainers first before they see the owner and the horse. So that's who they're interested in. I think we should focus on the jockeys and the athletes and what's going on in their minds. Like in an interview, just asking the jockey, what's happening? What was your strategy going into the race? How were you feeling? You've never ridden this horse before. Like, and then the guy's like, no, I really worked hard. I've been really working hard in the past 7 days to get this right. I lost 5 kgs. And I'm in a really good space in my mind. I want to beat Anton Marcus in this race. You know what I mean? Like, I really wanted to beat so-and-so, and I did it. You know, that stuff right there, the strategy and what's happening in your mind as the athlete, you know?
Yeah, I think it is. A lot of the guys get there, and then after the race, they always thank the owner, thank the trainer, which is the same thing. And I think it's all part of the respect for the people in the game. And it is such a difficult one for me to. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And as for me as a jockey, I think what's the most important thing, what the people want to hear is how the race went, not thanking everybody afterwards
100%.
that they expect. I can come home and pick up the phone and thank Mike de Kock and thank the owners. We can do that. But I think what maybe we should bring forward is talk about the race, talk how the race went, and say, you know, and we do understand you want to thank the trainer, but the trainer's right there next to you, so you can thank him.
Yes.
Or you don't have to thank him on TV, and you can thank the owner and the parading. Just talk about the race. Let's talk about how the race went. And I think those are important things. I think people, a lot of people don't really know what goes on in the race, what made you win that race sometimes.
Exactly.
You've got a good point of talking about. We do tend to go there and just talk about, thank you very much. Thank you to the owners. Thank you to the trainers, and thank people that should be thanked, but we're thanking them on TV. And it's all about we should be talking about the race. I think that's very important. And maybe you can bring that forward. You're working with Gold Circle now. So maybe bring it forward and get the jockeys to get on board with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I'll definitely try and do that. Last question before we wrap up, Mr. Delpech. Do you consider yourself a high performer? This is the high performance zone, and I want to know if you consider yourself a high performer.
Well, I don't know in which way you mean a high performer, but I consider myself in a person that always wants, whatever I'm going to do, I will strive to do it at my best. And otherwise, if I can't do it at my best, I'd rather not do it. So is that a high performer? Maybe it is a high performer. That's, I think, everyone that wants to be successful and want to be at the best, that's what they got to be doing. And that's the person I am.
I love that. I love that. Thank you very much, Mr. Delpech. It was really a pleasure getting to know you as an athlete and talking to you. I really learned a couple of things. Like my biggest takeaway from this conversation is hard work and dedication, and just not being able to breathe if you're not doing what you love. You know, like for me, I'm going to just be selfish and talk about this from my perspective as a businessman. I need not to be able to breathe if I'm not doing business. I need to just put my 1,000 or 10,000 hours every day, work 16 hours a day, sleep 8, come back to work and get at it. That's what I took away from this conversation. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope that everybody else that's listening at home drew out some inspiration and got to know you much better as an athlete as well. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. See you soon.
Cheers. Keep well, eh? Cheers, mate.